You won't believe what happened in my neighborhood, and it all started with something as simple as a garden hose. There's this HOA member, let's just call her Karen, who kept stealing my hose. At first, I thought maybe she just needed it for a moment, but it became clear pretty quickly that this was on purpose. Every time I left it out, it vanished, and no one seemed to know where it went. It was like some strange hose heist going on right under my nose. I tried talking to her, but Karen wasn't having it. She acted like I was the problem, making me feel like I was overreacting. But honestly, it was beyond annoying. It felt like she was trying to control every little thing in the neighborhood. So I decided to get creative and teach her a lesson she wouldn't forget. I hooked my hose up to something no one expects, a sewage tank. I know it sounds crazy, but this isn't just about a stolen hose anymore. It's about standing up to someone who thinks they can push people around. What happened next? Well, let's just say Karen's reaction was way more than I imagined. I'm not sure if I made things better or worse, but one thing's for sure, this story isn't over. Stay tuned, because the drama is just getting started. Before all this hose drama, life in the neighborhood was pretty normal. We all had our little routines, and for the most part, people got along. But Karen was always a bit different. She's one of those HOA members who takes rules way too seriously, like she's on a mission to control every inch of the place. At first, I thought she just cared a lot about the community, but it quickly felt like something more personal. The hose thing started out small. Maybe she borrowed it once or twice without asking, but then it became clear she was taking it to use in her yard or just hiding it for some reason. Every time I found it missing, I'd ask around, but no one wanted to get involved. It was like everyone was too scared to confront her. I didn't want to make enemies, but this was crossing a line. So, when I hooked my hose up to that sewage tank, I wasn't just being petty. I was making a point. I wanted Karen to realize that you can't just take what isn't yours and expect no consequences. But the moment I did it, I started wondering if I'd gone too far. The tension in the neighborhood grew, and Karen's reactions became unpredictable. Now I'm stuck waiting, unsure what she'll do next or how this will all blow up. After hooking the hose up to the sewage tank, things started to get really tense. At first, I thought Karen might just laugh it off or maybe finally leave my stuff alone. But instead, she went full-on defensive, acting like I'd crossed some invisible line she didn't want anyone near. The neighborhood felt different, like a quiet storm brewing beneath the surface. People were whispering about what happened, but no one wanted to step in. It was like everyone was watching, waiting to see how this drama would unfold. Meanwhile, I started hearing stories from other neighbors, small things Karen had done that didn't seem like a big deal alone, but added up. Like how she'd report minor HOA violations just to make people uncomfortable, or how she controlled the community garden access. Some folks admired her for keeping things in order, but others, like me, felt she was crossing a line between being helpful and downright controlling. It made me wonder, was I the only one fed up, or was this a bigger problem hiding in plain sight? At the same time, I wasn't sure how to deal with the fallout from my hose stunt. My own family was starting to feel the stress, and some neighbors were giving me strange looks, like maybe I'd gone too far. The HOA board hadn't said anything yet, but I could tell they were aware. Would they take Karen's side? Would they even take my side? And what would that mean for everyone else? The tension wasn't just about a hose anymore. It was about power control and what happens when neighbors stop trusting each other. I kept wondering, how far would Karen go to get her way? And was I ready for what might come next? Days went by, and the tension in the neighborhood was almost unbearable. Karen didn't say much, but her icy glare whenever we crossed paths said everything. I started noticing little things. My mailbox was dented one morning, and my garden gate was left open when it should have been locked. It felt like subtle warnings, like she was sending a message without having to say a word. At the same time, I heard rumors that she was talking to the HOA board, trying to make it seem like I was a troublemaker. I wasn't sure if I should prepare for a meeting or if this was all just drama blowing up. Other neighbors started taking sides quietly. Some thought I'd gone too far hooking up my hose to the sewage tank, while others whispered that Karen had been pushing people around for too long and finally got what was coming. The community was divided, and everyday conversations felt like walking on eggshells. I even caught myself double-checking my yard for anything out of place before going to bed. One evening, things reached a boiling point. Karen showed up near my driveway, acting like she wanted to confront me, but instead, she just stood there silently for a long time. My heart was racing, and I wasn't sure if she was about to accuse me in front of the whole block or if something else was about to happen. The silence was almost louder than any argument could be. I knew that whatever happened next would change everything. The neighborhood was on edge, and so was I. Would Karen finally back down, or was this just the start of a bigger showdown? I didn't know, but I was ready to find out, whether I liked it or not. Just when I thought things couldn't get any more intense, the unexpected happened. A few days after that silent standoff near my driveway, I found a letter slipped under my door from the HOA board. At first, I thought it might be a warning or an invitation to talk things out. But no, turns out, Karen had officially filed a complaint against me. She claimed that I was harassing her and damaging HOA property by hooking my hose to the sewage tank. I couldn't believe it. Suddenly, the whole situation had blown up into something much bigger than a stolen hose. What made it worse was how the neighbors reacted. Some started avoiding me, whispering about that HOA Karen drama, and wondering if I'd crossed a serious line. Others reached out, saying they'd been dealing with Karen's strict rules and attitude for years, but never had the guts to say anything. It was like the neighborhood was divided by a deep, invisible fault line, and the hose fight was just the spark that exposed it. Meanwhile, I kept wondering what the HOA board would do. Would they side with Karen just because she was an official member, or would they listen to my side? The complaint came with a warning of potential fines and even legal action if I didn't fix the damage. The stakes had suddenly gone from petty neighborhood squabble to something that could cost me big time. And then, just when I thought I was drowning in this mess, I noticed something strange. My water bill had spiked to an outrageous amount, way more than it should have been. Was this just bad timing, or was someone trying to make things worse? The whole situation was spiraling, and I had no idea what to expect next. One thing was clear: the hose war was far from over, and whatever happened next could change everything. The day of the HOA meeting finally arrived, and I could feel the weight of the entire neighborhood's eyes on me. Karen was there, of course, looking as confident as ever, ready to push her complaint like it was the truth no one could question. I took a deep breath and stood my ground, knowing this was my chance to clear the air. I explained everything: how the hose kept disappearing, how I hooked it up to the sewage tank as a way to stop the theft, and how Karen's behavior had affected not just me, but other neighbors too. To my surprise, some neighbors spoke up, sharing their own stories of Karen's overbearing attitude. It turned out I wasn't alone in feeling pushed around. The HOA board listened carefully, and after some tense back and forth, they decided Karen's complaint wasn't justified. Instead, they warned her to stop harassing others and suggested we all work on better community communication. Just as I thought this was the end of it, the final twist hit. As the meeting was closing, the HOA president mentioned something no one had expected. The sewage tank I'd hooked the hose to wasn't actually part of my property. It belonged to the community, and hooking the hose up had caused a minor, but expensive, plumbing issue. The board said I'd need to cover the repairs. My jaw dropped. The very move I thought would teach Karen a lesson had backfired in a way I never imagined. Karen smirked quietly, but I knew this wasn't just about winning or losing anymore. It was about figuring out how to live next door to someone like her, and maybe, just maybe, how to make this neighborhood a place where no one's hose, or peace of mind, ever got stolen again. In the end, paying for the sewage repairs wasn't easy, but it gave me a lot to think about. The whole hose saga started as a small frustration, but revealed bigger issues about respect, boundaries, and how we treat each other in a community. Karen didn't suddenly become a different person overnight, but the HOA board's warning seemed to put her on notice. After that, the stolen hose stopped disappearing, and the quiet tension between us eased a little. In the end, paying for the sewage repairs wasn't easy, but it gave me a lot to think about. The whole hose saga started as a small frustration, but revealed bigger issues about respect, boundaries, and how we treat each other in a community. Karen didn't suddenly become a different person overnight, but the HOA board's warning seemed to put her on notice. After that, the stolen hose stopped disappearing, and the quiet tension between us eased a little. I realized that sometimes standing up for yourself means taking risks, and those risks don't always go the way you expect. But it also showed me how important it is to communicate and try to find common ground, even with difficult neighbors. The neighborhood slowly started to feel more like a real community again, with people talking more openly and looking out for each other. This whole experience taught me that small actions, like a garden hose, can symbolize much bigger problems. It reminded me to stay patient and keep perspective, even when things get frustrating. If you're dealing with an HOA drama or a tricky neighbor, remember to stand firm but stay calm. You never know when a simple moment might turn into a story worth sharing. Thanks for watching, and if you've had your own neighborhood battles, I'd love to hear about them in the comments.